Good morning. I want to talk today about mythology, psychology, and the return of the matriarch. Okay, I've studied anthropology and psychology as well as theology in the Bible to understand it. And this is my interpretation of life. Okay, let me teach you something today that is not from a textbook, it's not from a lecture hall, but from the oldest classroom that humanity has ever built. The mind, the myth, and the memory of the great mother, the matriarch. Psychologists came later, theories came later, but mythology was the first psychology that humanity ever knew. I want you to remember that as we journey together for the next few minutes, okay? Because long before Freud started analyzing dreams, long before Jung named the archetypes, long before universities turned the human mind into a field of study, right? Psychology degree. Women, priestesses, storytellers, mothers, witches, and healers were already interpreting the soul before the textbook ever did, right? Mythology was our classroom. Symbol was our language. Transformation was the curriculum, okay? So today I'm your professor, Spryte the Emcee, guiding you back to the truth that you already carry inside of your bones. Myth is the language of the psyche, okay? That's what Carl Jung said. Carl Jung is a psychiatrist, psychologist I studied. But I'll tell you a deeper truth. Myth is the language of the goddess within the psyche, okay? So because every myth that you've ever loved, every story that stayed with you, carries the fingerprint of the feminine mind that shaped it. Let me explain. Number one, myth was the first map of the mind, right? So when ancient people didn't have words for trauma, they created underworlds. When they didn't have words for grief, they created goddesses who wandered deserts searching for what they'd lost. I'm one of those goddesses who search deserts for whom and what I've lost. So I know that story. When they didn't have words for rebirth, they created resurrection stories, phoenix wings, deities who rose after being torn apart or dead. Mythology wasn't entertainment, it was instruction, a mirror, a manual for the human soul. It was the world's first therapy session, and it still is, if you know how to listen, right? Number two, the archetypes. So the archetypes are the mind's sacred architecture. Archetype architecture. Let me go a little deeper with you guys. Psychology tells us that the mind thinks in patterns. Archetypes that repeat across cultures, across continents, and across centuries, right? But mythology told us thousands of years ago all of this, right? Lilith, Hecate, Bridget, Athena, Isis, Kali. They are not just goddesses. They're patterns of consciousness, code, psychological architecture, right? The mother, the warrior, the shadow, the creator, the destroyer, the sage. As Jung said, archetypes are living psychic forces, and they live inside of you, every single one. Depends on how you tap into each one. So your shadow, that's Kali. Your intuition, that's Hecate's torch. Your rebirth after trauma, that's Isis collecting her pieces and rising anyway. And your courage to speak truth, Athena has walked your mind before. And the moment you reclaim these archetypes, you reclaim your psychology, your story, your sovereignty. Because mythology is not outside of you guys. It's the blueprint of our inner world, right? So how trauma is written in mythic form, right? The descent. Let's talk about the descent. So let me speak to the ones who have descended, the ones who have broken, bent, completely lost themselves, and you climb back out of the darkness. Okay, I'm speaking to you now. Inanna, Persephone, Osiris, Jesus, right? The name change, the psychology is identical to all of them. The descent is the nervous system collapsing under pressure. The underworld is the freeze response. The dismemberment is identity fracture. The darkness is the moment you don't recognize yourself. And the resurrection, that's you. As Van der Kolk wrote, the body keeps the score. I recommend this book to everyone. But mythology keeps the story. So the body remembers the rage. The mythology, the mind keeps the story. The symbolic way out when logic can't carry you there. right? Symbols. Mythology teaches what psychology often forgets. You don't heal by erasing your story. No. You heal by rewriting your story. Okay? So now my favorite part of psychology, the collective unconscious. The collective unconscious, where the goddess still lives. You've heard Jung talk about the collective unconscious, that deep well of symbols that all humans share, right? Good, bad, the hero, the heroine. But here's what he didn't say loudly enough, okay? The unconscious is the feminine. It's lunar, intuitive, cyclical, circular, emotional, relational. It's the shadowed cave that we come to, the womb of creation, the subconscious ocean that births dreams and visions. But let me add truth our ancestors didn't know. Dreams are the goddess speaking. Myth is the memory of her voice. When you dream in symbols, you're speaking her language. When you sense intuition, you're listening to her guidance. When you rebirth yourself, you're living through her cycle. This is why patriarchal systems spent 3,000 years trying to silence mythology's feminine tools. Witches, women. Because a woman who knows her mythology cannot be controlled. A woman who knows her psychology cannot be gaslit. A woman who knows her archetypes cannot be made small. And a woman who remembers the goddess cannot be removed from her throne. So why does mythology still matter today? Because narrative is therapy. Psychologists today use myth more than they admit, right? Internal family systems, shadow work, trauma reprocessing, heroes' journey models, referring identity, all of these echo ancient stories. I know because I've studied the ancient stories and I studied psychology. Your mind doesn't heal through facts. It heals through story, through meaning, through metaphor, right? Through symbol. Because the psyche speaks imagery, not logic. Do you understand me? The psyche speaks imagery, not logic. When you tell your story, when you reclaim your voice, when you rewrite the myth, you become the author of your life rather than the character suffering through your life. You can have main character, yeah, but you are in charge and you have to realize that. Nobody's writing the script. The matriarch movement is not just political, it's psychological, it's mythological, it's ancestral. I've worked my life for this movement. The matriarch emerging is every man and woman who remembers the divine feminine. It's not just women. The heartbreaks are underworlds. Your comebacks are resurrections. Your intuition is ancient. Your strength is archetypal, and your story is sacred. And every time you learn, heal, grow, speak truth, break a cycle, you step into your power. Okay? You're participating in the oldest myth humanity ever told, the return of the divine feminine. History's been here for 2,000 years shoving it down our throat. Now it's her story. And the matriarch is not coming. She's here. I'm here. She's in the voice, the vision, the artwork, the healing. She's in my music. She's in my strength. She's in my rage. And I'm bringing her to the world, hip-hop and books. As Eric Newman wrote, the reemergence of the feminine principle is essential to the survival of the psyche. So keep rising, keep teaching, keep talking, keep channeling, and keep rewriting what they tried to erase. Because mythology and psychology are not simply subjects, they're mirrors, reminding you you were never broken, you were mythic, you're powerful, and you're always meant to lead. The matriarch emerges through you and through me. Through every woman listening, through every soul remembering. Okay? So, class dismissed, power restored, and God is rising to you. Now listen to me. It's happening in real time, and it happens faster when you start to remember.